"Yo, Adrian, I did it." Those 4 words didn't just end Rocky 2, they became an anthem for every dreamer who ever got back up after life knocked them down. In this video, we're diving deep into Rocky 2, 1979, uncovering 20 shocking facts you didn't know about the movie that turned pain into power and a sequel into a cinematic legend. From the real injuries that left Stallone broken to the faith, fear, and love that made this sequel more than just a fight film. This is the real story behind the comeback that defined an era. So, lace up your gloves, because this is Rewatch Club, and we're going 12 rounds with nostalgia. Number 1, Stallone had to fight for control. Literally, when Rocky won the Oscar for Best Picture.
And the winner is Rocky Irwin.
Everyone assumed the sequel would be easy, but Hollywood didn't see it that way. United Artists wanted a safe, commercial sequel, with someone else directing. They didn't trust Stallone, calling him too green to handle a big production.
United Artists panicked. Could an actor with no directing credits command a $7 million set?
But Stallone refused to hand over his creation. He told the studio, if someone else directs, it won't be Rocky anymore. For weeks, he fought behind closed doors, pitching, arguing, rewriting, until they finally gave in. It wasn't ego, it was survival, because Stallone knew something the studio didn't. Rocky wasn't just a character, it was him, his struggle, his hunger, his second chance, and the only way to make it real again was to bleed for it himself. That's why every shot in Rocky 2 feels so personal. It's Stallone saying to the world, I'm not done yet. Number 2, the injuries were real, and they were brutal. What you see in that final fight isn't movie magic, it's controlled chaos. During filming, Carl Weathers and Sylvester Stallone agreed to throw real punches to make the fight more authentic. It worked a little too well. Weathers accidentally fractured Stallone's ribs.
One body shot cracked a rib. Stallone popped aspirin, wrapped tape.
Stallone, refusing to stop filming, kept going, even as he struggled to breathe between takes. Later, he developed swelling around his jaw and bruises so bad he could barely chew. Most actors would have quit, but Stallone wasn't acting. He was Rocky. He said, if it doesn't hurt, the audience won't feel it. That dedication made the final match one of the most convincing in movie history. When you watch them collapse together, you're not seeing choreography. You're seeing 2 exhausted men who actually fought for every second of that moment. Number 3, Adrian's win scene was written from heartbreak. That moment in the hospital, when Adrian wakes up and softly says,
Win.
Still gives people chills 40 years later. But what most fans don't know is that Stallone wrote that scene after a real-life argument with his wife.
Hey, I don't want this no more. I want something good for the family. I don't want this.
He'd been struggling under pressure, acting, directing, writing, and took it out on her. Later that night, racked with guilt, he rewrote Adrian's lines. He imagined what it would mean for someone to believe in you completely, to say just one word that could lift your entire soul. When Talia Shire performed it, Stallone said everyone on set went silent. It wasn't just another movie moment. It was the emotional heartbeat of the entire film, and proof that Rocky 2 wasn't about fighting Apollo Creed. It was about fighting for love. Number 4, Stallone's body was breaking down behind the camera. By the halfway point of filming, Stallone was directing, acting, rewriting scenes on the fly, and sleeping less than 3 hours a night. Crew members described him as haunted, pacing the set, mumbling dialogue to himself between takes. Then his body started giving up. He began collapsing from exhaustion, with blurred vision and dizziness. Doctors warned him to take time off, or risk long-term damage. But Stallone refused.
And it's okay. I know in my mind, if I sell it now and it becomes good.
He told them, Rocky doesn't quit, so neither do I. So he directed many of the later scenes sitting down, calling shots through sheer willpower. That's why the exhaustion you see in his eyes during training sequences doesn't look like acting. It's not. It's a man truly running on fumes, holding himself together for the story he believed in more than his own comfort. Number 5. The famous running montage was filmed guerrilla style, with no permits. That iconic run through Philadelphia? Totally improvised. Stallone's team didn't have enough money or time for permits, so they just hit the streets with a small camera crew and hoped for the best, the people cheering him on. Those weren't extras. Those were real Philadelphians, reacting to a local hero running through their neighborhoods. The shot of the kids chasing behind him happened by accident. Hundreds of children joined mid-scene, and Stallone yelled to the camera operator, "Keep rolling!"
There were 800 local school kids used as extras for Rocky's run through Philadelphia.
What was supposed to be a simple training montage became one of the most uplifting sequences in film history, a visual symbol of hope and community. That's the beauty of Rocky 2. When the world joined the run, Fiction and reality became one. Number 6, the chicken scene came out of a joke and left Stallone limping. During rehearsals, Burgess Meredith, who played Mickey, joked about how fighters used to chase chickens to improve their reflexes. Stallone laughed, then paused and said, "That's genius." The next day, it was in the script. But catching that chicken? Way harder than it looks.
Now listen, I want you to try, listen to me. I want you to try to chase this little chicken.
Stallone spent hours sprinting after it on set, slipping in mud and tweaking his back. It took over 30 takes before he finally caught it. Everyone on set was crying, laughing, except Stallone, who was sore for a week. But that small, funny scene did something important. It showed the real dynamic between Rocky and Mickey, the rough love between an old warrior and his stubborn student. It's funny, but it's also philosophy. Greatness comes from struggle, not comfort. Number 7, Rocky's eye, the hidden symbolism you missed. Remember how Rocky's left eye is nearly blind after the first fight? That wasn't just a plot device. It was symbolism. Stallone has said the injury represents faith over sight. Rocky can't see clearly in the ring.
I can't see nothing. Gotta open my eye. Cut me, Mick.
I don't want to do it.
Oh, cut me.
But he can see what truly matters: love, integrity, and self-belief. It's the movie's spiritual core. When the doctor tells him, "You could go blind if you fight again," that moment mirrors Stallone's own fear of losing his vision, metaphorically, in Hollywood. The eye became a symbol for both of them, the price of passion and the power of persistence. It's why Rocky II feels so raw.
Whether you punched in Rocky franchise trivia,
Every weakness is turned into meaning. Number 8, Carl Weathers demanded to redefine Apollo Creed. After the first film, Carl Weathers didn't want Apollo Creed to return as just a flashy villain. He wanted depth, pain, pride, and obsession.
You call yourself the champ, you're a fake. The fight was a fake, go kill yourself.
He told Stallone, "If Apollo's coming back, I want him to be human, a man, not a cartoon." So Stallone rewrote the character. Apollo's fury in Rocky II isn't about revenge.
making Apollo the antithesis of Rocky's lumbering power.
It's about reputation, legacy, and fear. He's haunted by the idea that a nobody from Philly almost beat him. That frustration seeps into every scene. The news clippings, the mirror monologues, the rage behind his perfect smile. Weathers later said, Apollo wasn't fighting Rocky. He was fighting his ego. That change gave Rocky II its emotional engine. It's not hero versus villain anymore. It's two men proving their worth to themselves. Number 9. Adrian's hospital scene was filmed in sacred silence. The birth of Rocky Jr. and Adrian's win moment was the emotional heartbeat of the movie.
The baby is fine, even though it's a month premature.
What is it?
It's a boy.
And Stallone knew it. So, on the day of filming, he ordered total silence on set. No one moved. No playback monitors. Not even a cough. Talia Shire walked into that hospital bed scene completely immersed. No rehearsals, no blocking. When she opened her eyes and whispered, "Win," the room froze.
As Adrian whispered "win" to her fictional husband.
Stallone later said it felt like watching God speak through her. That's why the moment feels sacred. Like time itself pauses. It's love distilled into a single syllable. A cinematic prayer whispered between two souls who've endured everything. Even the crew cried, not because of the words, but because of the stillness. That silence carried more emotion than any dialogue could ever say. Number 10. The street montage was shot without permission and without a plan. Today, it's one of the most famous training scenes in cinema. But when Stallone filmed the running montage, the crew didn't have the money or time for permits, so they just did it. They drove a van behind him with handheld cameras, rolling through South Philly at sunrise. Everything you see is real life. Real stores, real people, real reactions. Those kids running after him, they weren't extras. They saw Stallone sprinting through their streets and joined in. You can even spot people staring into the camera, totally confused. It's pure, unfiltered Philadelphia, the city literally rising with Rocky. That's why the montage still feels so authentic. It's not choreography, it's community, a neighborhood running alongside its hero, both on screen and off. Number 11. The final fight. Took over a month to film. The last battle between Rocky and Apollo wasn't a few days of stage punches, it was a war.
15 rounds for the heavyweight championship of the world!
Filmed over 35 exhausting days, Stallone choreographed every second like a ballet, except this ballet left bruises. By the end, both actors were physically wrecked. They bled, they limped, they iced their bodies between takes. Stallone's ribs were still tender from earlier injuries, and Weathers had a swollen hand for weeks. The camera work was revolutionary. Small rigs allowed the cinematographer to get inside the ring, close enough to feel the sweat. Every punch you see, every gasp of breath, that's real exertion. Stallone said later, We didn't act that fight. We survived it, and it shows. The final bell doesn't just mark the end of a match. It feels like the end of a lifetime's worth of pain. Number 12, Stallone nearly collapsed before the final take. The day they shot the climactic fall, both men hitting the mat, Stallone was in terrible shape. He'd been directing, performing, and editing his fight choreography at night.
Sylvester Stallone directing debut or Apollo Creed rematch secrets.
No sleep, barely eating. When the cameras rolled, he gave it everything. But after the third take, his body simply stopped cooperating. He fell to the ground and stayed there, not because it was in the script, but because he couldn't move. He later said, "I remember thinking, maybe this is how it ends. Just one man giving everything he's got." They kept the footage. That exhaustion, that collapse, became the most honest image in the film. A man who literally had nothing left to give. Number 13. "Yo, Adrian, I did it," wasn't in the script. The line that defined the entire franchise was pure instinct. In the original script, Rocky simply celebrated.
Except for my kid being born. This is the greatest night.
Shouting Adrian's name. But when Stallone got to that moment, he broke down. He later explained, "It wasn't Rocky talking, it was me." Those words,
Yo, Adrian, I did it!
poured straight from his soul, unrehearsed, unplanned, and completely sincere. You can even see Stallone's tears are real. The exhaustion, the disbelief. It wasn't performance, it was catharsis. A man finally proving to himself that he's not a bum. And that's why it still gives people chills. It's not a line, it's a victory cry for every person who ever doubted themselves. Number 14. Stallone's real-life fear hid in Rocky's dialogue. When Rocky says, "I just want to prove something, that I ain't no bum," it hits hard because it's not fiction. Stallone was channeling his own insecurities at the time. Critics were calling him a fluke, a one-hit wonder who got lucky with Rocky 1. He felt it, he believed it, and he poured it into his character.
In case I don't get a chance, I just want to say I'm going to be trying hard for you today, okay?
That's why Rocky's doubt feels so real. It was real. He later admitted that writing Rocky 2 was like therapy. Every line about fear, self-worth, and perseverance came from his own battles with fame and failure. So when Rocky finally wins, Stallone does too. It's not just character redemption, it's human redemption. Number 15. Bill Conti's music nearly got replaced. It's hard to imagine Rocky 2 without that swelling theme, the sound that makes your chest tighten when Rocky runs those steps. But at one point, the studio wanted to replace composer Bill Conti. Executives thought his music sounded dated and wanted something flashier for the late 70s. Stallone refused. He told them, "Bill's music isn't background.
Is the most beautiful music I've ever heard."
It's the movie's heartbeat. So Conti returned, but this time he made it more emotional. He softened the brass, deepened the strings, and added new variations to mirror Rocky's quieter, more reflective journey. The result was cinematic alchemy. That iconic cue, when Rocky lifts his arms on the steps, isn't just music. It's faith taking flight. You don't hear Rocky 2, you feel it. And in that moment, Bill Conti didn't just score a film, he scored the feeling of victory itself. Number 16. The religious symbolism was deeply intentional. If you rewatch Rocky 2 closely, you'll notice something. Crosses, candles, prayers, and confessions appear in nearly every act. It's not random. Stallone, raised Catholic, infused the film with spiritual undertones to make it more than just a boxing movie. It's about resurrection. Rocky's training isn't just physical, it's penitence. When he kneels before Adrian's hospital bed, it's not about strategy, it's about faith.
Saw Cora and Kay and Bud start up the valley.
Even his robe, now gold and white, mirrors the colors of rebirth and sanctity. Stallone once said, "Rocky doesn't win because he's the best fighter. He wins because he believes again." That's the soul of Rocky 2. It's not about muscle, it's about redemption. And that's why, to this day, millions of fans say this sequel feels spiritual.
Which cast a huge shadow on his success with Rocky.
As if the fight was never in the ring, but inside the human heart. Number 17. Stallone's finances were on the line. Behind the scenes, Stallone was risking everything, again.
In Rocky 2, Stallone uses the theme that yesterday's heroes are quickly forgotten.
Even after Rocky W's success, he was drowning in debt. He'd poured much of his earnings into failed projects, and by the time Rocky 2 began production, he was nearly broke. To make sure the film stayed authentic and under his control, he mortgaged his home and used his own money to cover parts of production. He said, "If this movie fails, I lose everything. But if I don't make it, I lose myself." That risk bled into the movie itself. Every desperate glance, every line about not being good enough, every struggle to rise again, It's not fiction, it's Stallone's life, captured on film. And when he finally screamed, "Yo, Adrian, I did it!" it wasn't just Rocky's victory. It was Stallone saving his own dream from extinction. Number 18. Burgess Meredith's speech was mostly improvised. Mickey Goldmill's training lines are legendary. "You're gonna eat lightning and crap thunder."
Like the guy says, you're gonna eat lightning and you're gonna crap thunder.
But what most fans don't know is that Burgess Meredith improvised much of his dialogue. He wasn't just reading words, he was channeling his own regrets and wisdom from a lifetime in Hollywood. In one scene, he went off script, giving Rocky a trembling, heartfelt speech about old fighters and fated chances. Stallone didn't cut a word. He said, "It was like my father was talking to me." That's why Mickey feels so authentic. He's more than a trainer. He's the ghost of every mentor who's ever wanted one more shot through someone younger. When he tells Rocky, "You're gonna get hurt," it's not a warning. It's love disguised as toughness. Meredith didn't just play Mickey, he was Mickey. Number 19. Rocky's proposal scene came straight from Stallone's life. That awkward, gentle proposal in front of the Tiger exhibit might look simple.
What'd you say?
If you wouldn't mind marrying me too much.
But it's one of the film's most honest moments. Stallone based it on his own real-life proposal years earlier, when he was nervous, broke, and desperately in love. He wanted the moment to feel unpolished. No music, no fancy speech, just raw vulnerability. When Rocky says,
I was wondering if you wouldn't mind marrying me very much.
he sounds unsure, almost shy. That's what makes it beautiful. It's love without ego. Two broken people building something whole together. It's not Hollywood romance. It's real, working-class love. And that's why it still melts audiences decades later, because everyone recognizes that kind of sincerity. Number 20. The legacy of Rocky the Sexu changed cinema forever. When Rocky the Sexu hit theaters in 1979, audiences didn't just watch it, they lived it. People cried, cheered, and stood in ovation when Rocky stood up in slow motion and raised his gloves. It wasn't just the story of a boxer.
Bruises and brainstorms that forged Rocky II into a boxing movie legend.
It was a metaphor for survival, for faith, for every underdog who's ever refused to quit. Stallone didn't just make a sequel, he built a myth. Rocky II redefined what follow-ups could be. Not repetition, but resurrection. And its legacy still echoes today. In every Creed film, every sports drama, and every motivational story that asks, "Can I get back up again?" Because Rocky II gave us the answer. Yes, you can. You just have to keep fighting. Rocky II isn't just a film. It's a living testament to perseverance, love, and the belief that no one is ever truly beaten until they stop trying. It taught the world that victory isn't about titles. It's about heart. If this movie still hits you in the gut, hit that like button and subscribe. Because at RewatchClub, we keep the heart of nostalgia alive and swinging. Tell us in the comments which Rocky II moment still gives you chills, and which Rocky movie should we step into the ring with next. If you haven't watched our deep dive on the first Rocky, 1976, that's your next round. And trust me, what's coming next will have the eye of the tiger. Until then, keep believing, keep fighting, and keep rewatching. This is RewatchClub signing off.